Hello, Internet, and welcome once again to the Free-to-Play Cast, brought to you by MMOBomb.com, your home for all things free-to-play related. I am your host, Mike Byrne, aka magicman, and this is episode 302, recording on Thursday, June 6th, 2019. You're watching it on the 7th or later, and we've got big news in a game going free-to-play, bizarre news in a game that used to be free-to-play, and not surprising news for a game that currently is free-to-play. Joining me to go on this lovely adventure through the world of free-to-play gaming, Mr. Jason Winter. How are you, sir?
I am shocked and amazed that there was big free-to-play news before the cast this time.
Right? We literally talked about that in Skype when we were pretty sure this news was going to break. We said, oh my god, it might actually break before the show. Who knew? Also on the line to chat about it from a brand new location, Ms. Quinlan Bowers. What's up, Q?
Well, it's not a brand new location. It's a location I have been in before. It was just like 2 years ago.
So now we're cycling through them all, I guess. So we're going to go back to what? Back to Colorado, and we're just going to keep cycling through all of the Q locations.
We're going to have to go back to her childhood home eventually.
Right?
I don't think the people who live there now would appreciate that.
Just show up. Just
this
tell
is
them
important. We're the number one channel on YouTube. Tell them to get in shape.
Tell them it's just for 45 minutes to an hour, one Thursday. That's it. We just need one, from Q's childhood bedroom. All right, let's get started with the news. So here we go. A little while ago, you may know from the non-free-to-play world that Bungie and Activision severed ties. No longer. Why do you got a big grin on your face, Jason?
Yeah, there's something going on off to the side here. Don't worry.
Oh. Remind me when we get to the bombs to say something about that, because somebody did comment about the big. Well, I'll just say it now. Somebody commented on the show, and I didn't put it in the show notes, but I thought about doing it. They said, "Biggest lie ever." Jason, quote, "My girlfriend, ... end quote. And I wanted to reply, I know for a fact she exists, but I just left it alone.
I know his girlfriend. She actually drew a piece of art for me once.
Very talented.
You're a topic on the cast right now.
So you may remember, anyway, back to what we were actually talking about. Things that are games and free-to-play and not people that are girlfriends. We had... What was that, Q? I don't know. I mean, that could be a free-to-play game for Jason. I don't know.
Wow, I'm back after, 3 weeks, and we're already off the rails.
Destiny! Let's talk about Destiny.
Yes! So Bungie and Activision went their separate ways in what looked like a really awkward text breakup. If you remember how the news came out, it was just sort of, hey, we're on our own now. And I swear to God, there was probably a text in there that was like, no, Bungie, it's not you, it's us. We need to go and find out what kind of game company we want to be, and we've got to work on us before we can work on you. So Bungie decided they were going to go it alone because they basically had no other choice at that point. And here we are months later talking about Destiny 2 and Bungie on the free-to-play cast. Why? Because it's going free-to-play, Jason.
More or less. I mean, on September 17th is when they're going to rebrand the game as Destiny 2 New Light. And at this point, you'll be able to log into the game for free. You'll have all the Season 1 content, all the stuff that comes with that for free. And you'll be able to play with your friends and be able to get on and do all that stuff that they've been doing for years. Mostly, again, the future stuff that comes past Season 1, you'll still have to wind up paying for.
Well, hold on. It's not Season 1, it's Year 1.
Year 1.
So that does include, and maybe the article needs to be updated.
Maybe you should have pointed that out before you were proofing it.
I don't know. I'm going to look at it now to see how we worded it.
Okay, all right, fine.
Yeah, I want to see how we worded it here.
I said Season 1.
Yeah, you did say Season 1, so I'll correct that to Year. It's all the Year 1 content, which I think was a couple seasons. I can't remember. It's been a while. I think it was like 2 seasons, 3 seasons, 4 seasons, something like that. So there'll be all the Year 1 content. Keep going, Jason. Sorry.
That was pretty much it. I mean, all the Year 1 content, base game will be free, and you can log in and play with friends.
So, I mean, if we had to liken this to something we're very familiar with, oh, the headline says season 1 too.
Oh gosh.
Let me change the old
Only
URL
I have an
there.
editor.
Let's also not pretend like the announcements weren't as confusing and vague as they possibly could have been anyway.
They went in all different directions. Yeah. So I had to like rewrite this 3 times and.
So let's liken this to something that we're experienced with in the free-to-play world. To me, it feels a lot like Guild Wars 2, where the base game is free. You can buy the expansions as they come out, and they get drastically discounted when the next one comes out. Except this one has the addition of a season pass too, that includes some extra stuff and content-wise. I mean, it feels like that's what they're going for here, right, Q? That kind of jump in, play with your friends, and then give us a couple of bucks when we expand or buy the past content you may want piecemeal.
Yeah, and I mean, they've got to figure out how to make money some way. So obviously, do the whole get in here and start playing and catch up with your friends, and then buy the rest of it whenever you feel like you need it, kind of thing, is a reasonably good way to go. It's better than some other options. So,
yeah, I kind of like the approach. I mean, again, we don't have like a chart yet, which would have been nice for this type of reveal. Here's a chart, PvP modes, because the way they're talking, like, they weren't just, they didn't just say, oh yeah, you'll be able to do all PvP. They like jumped around to certain features that were included, but didn't really list, okay, hey, there's X PvP maps and modes. You'll have access to these 3, but not these 2 unless you buy this. It really hasn't been broken down yet. I assume they're going to break it down by some type of graphic. Forsaken, the expansion, the first expansion, we know is not included. Right. So you'll have to buy that separately if you want to. But even that is not going to be a requirement if you wanted to jump into New Light and eventually buy the latest expansion. What is it? Shadow Bearers?
Shadowkeep.
Yeah, Shadowkeep. I'm sorry, I almost confused it with Final Fantasy XIV for a second and Shadow Bringers, which I got billed for today. I'm excited! Less than a month. Anyway, you won't have to buy Forsaken. It's just one of those, if you want to go back and grab it, you can. I wish the announcements would have been a little more direct and exact. I understand that some of this stuff is still fluid, even where your power level will start. They said right now that it'll start at max power, at like 750. If you just jumped into New Light and wanted to start playing with friends after you do the 10 or 15 minute tutorial intro thing. You don't have to play the 40 hours of content that's available already. But even that, they said, that's in flux. It could change. So I feel like they wanted to announce this and kind of had to, particularly, even though this was planned, right? The stream was planned. They really got boxed in after it was leaked yesterday and throughout last week. And some of the details they just aren't ready to talk about, Jason. And it does make it a little weird on, should we do a first look now? Should we wait for New Light so that we can jump in? Because I have the game and the expansions on console and PlayStation 4. I'm kind of leaning towards, we don't know what New Light actually gives you access. And I think for what we cover, it makes more sense to wait for that. Because the Destiny 2 first look is just going to compete with 900 other ones from years ago. So I think we wait for New Light, but I think the message could have been delivered a little better here.
Yeah. I mean, I like how they did it, and they referenced this as like, yeah, that's why we do this stuff live. It wasn't a pre-recorded thing. They had some notes, but not like a real word-by-word script to go by. So I like the spontaneity of that. But even as they talked about, they said, now you have so many different versions of the game to buy, it's all confusing. We're going to make that simpler. And they only made it, marginally simple, like 40% simpler or something like that. And I especially think that's an issue, for you, for instance, you probably were able to follow this pretty well because you knew a lot of this stuff because you played Destiny 2.
Right.
I was kind of struggling because I've never played it. I'm like, okay, what's a Crucible? That's kind of like a PvP thing, is it?
That's their PvP mode.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, that wasn't spelled out to me. That's what they're going to have to do because they're wanting to bring in new people with free-to-play. They're going to have to spell this stuff out in granular detail for people like me that have no clue what they're talking about.
Absolutely. Q, did you kind of get the same type of feeling that for a non-Destiny 2 player, this message probably needed to be delivered a little differently?
I mean, yeah, like you said, with I knew what the Crucible was, but that was only because Yod plays. So.
Yeah, and I shouldn't say PvP mode. That's their PvP stuff is all labeled under the Crucible. There's multiple there's multiple modes in the Crucible, deathmatch and all that fun stuff.
So if it weren't for me watching play, I'd have no idea what it was. So there you go.
Yeah, it was a little odd. Now, there's other stuff going on here, too. We're not going to really talk about the new expansion and go into story and stuff like that. Again, you're going to have to pay for that anyway, even if you want that. But as far as free-to-play players, cross-save, to be clear, not cross-play, but cross-save is going to be added to the game. Jason, this is one that I'm actually pretty pumped about because, as we talked about, my PC account is pretty far behind. It was something I logged into occasionally to play with certain friends. Destiny 2 for me was primarily a console game that I played on PS4, so that account, relatively up to date. I don't think I played anything in the last few months, so I'm a little behind, of course. But cross-save now gives me the ability to go to my account on Steam, which it's going to become available on Steam, on the PlayStation 4, whatever. They were very clear on this. Sony PlayStation 4 will be included in this.
Which reports are saying they just agreed to yesterday. They just got them to do that.
And Google Stadia, we already knew it was coming there, so that cross-save feature will allow me to jump in and play on my account regardless of the device that I'm playing. Still no cross-play, which would ultimately be, I'm sure, where Bungie wants to be, but still has the usual stumbling blocks that every other game has, Jason.
Yeah, namely Sony.
It's funny, because for years it was Xbox.
Yeah, well, then Sony became bigger and said, well, we don't need everyone else. Now we don't think it's a bad idea, so yeah.
Right. So, here's the ultimate question. I'm a little hyped about this. Granted, Destiny 2 has been something I've been falling in and out of. It's one of those games for me. I will buy Shadowkeep, just like I bought Forsaken. I think it's a tremendous opportunity because I think the game's in a great place to go free to play. There is a ton of content there. A ton if you are just starting out, that you can go and you are going to have a blast for a while. And the gunplay has always been, Destiny's huge selling point, which it needs to be, and it is fun and it is solid to do. I think it's a great time for it to go free to play. I can't imagine they were making much on box sales anymore, Q. I mean, right? Those sales are all gone, and now we got to do something, and we got to do it on our own. Let's bring in the players. And Forsaken fixed an awful lot. There's still things that need to be done from those early negative impressions, long-term negative impressions. Forsaken took great steps. I'm hopeful that the next expansion does more. It looks to be doing more. I gotta say, to me, this is absolutely fantastic timing for them.
Well, and it's one of those things too, right? Like you said, there's a point where people they're not really buying into it anymore. Everybody who's bought the base, like the base game, is pretty much in at this point that's going to be willing to spend money there. And the downfall of, say, free-to-play weekends and stuff is I'd never do free-to-play weekends because I don't see the point in any game spending the time downloading something just to play it for 2 or 3 days. Right. But when it comes up for free, I'm immediately just okay, I'll go ahead and grab this, even though I didn't have any interest in it before. Now that it's popping up as actual free, I'll go ahead and give it a try. So they've got those people that, and it's not really a cheap thing. It's just, there's other games that I could be playing. This one really doesn't catch my attention, but hey, it's free now, so I guess I'll try it. And then maybe you get those people to actually stay and buy the later content doing that. So you've roped in more people than you would have, instead of having what's probably going to be a declining population over a certain amount of time, right? Relying on them just to buy whatever comes out next.
Jason, they did say 2 things that I know you really liked. One of which you really thought, great, good job. And the other one, you were like, it's about time. So they were now fine with using the term MMO, something that they have tried to avoid using since Destiny, the original, came out. But then they also talked about that catch-up, right? That playing with friends. That's the key experience for the game. And so you know what? We're not going to make you play 40, 50 hours of content to catch up to your friends who don't want to help you with that shit because they've done it 100 bajillion times. Two very important things that I think are really, really going to help the free-to-play transition.
So for the first time, if I remember when we were talking about this when we first heard about it on Game Breaker back like 7 years ago, they're not calling it an MMO. They're staying away from that term. But at the same time, while now being okay with calling it an MMO, so they actually called out and said, yeah, well, we've avoided this for a long time. So it's great of them to acknowledge that. In addition to that, then, yeah, like you said, they're also realizing one of the biggest weaknesses of an MMO is, Mike, you've played a long time. If I want to jump in, how do we play together?
Right.
And they're finally going to do something about that. You talked about the gear score right at the start. There's that too. And yeah, there's just the fact that you can get in. They say in 10 to 15 minutes you'll be playing with friends after you do like the initial instance or whatever I get. And yeah, that is the key to it. That is a key to an MMO. That just so many companies, they can't figure that out. They assume that that first group of people who are going to get into the game when it's popular and hot and everyone wants in, they're all going to rush to max level or do whatever. Okay, that's great. 6 months down the road, when some new guy comes in or you get your friend or whatever finally to play it, what do? Hey, like you said, you grind up those 40 or 50 hours until you can actually play with your friends. Well, that's not a good idea. It just doesn't work. Stop doing it.
So here's directly from the splash site for Destiny 2 New Light. Again, there's no graphic or anything showing you exactly what the free-to-play players get and what they don't get. But right now, you can dive into the rich world of Destiny and quickly join your fellow Guardians to complete adventures and earn powerful rewards. Check. Okay, you're going to be able to play the game. Cooperate with friends or choose matchmaking to conquer a huge variety of social activities and events. All right, that tells me you're going to be able to use the random group finders. Choose cooperate with friends or choose matchmaking.
Look, you can find friends and play with them, so it's not like Magic the Gathering Arena.
Here's the thing that I think is funny. Compete against other players across a full suite of competitive PvP maps, modes, and activities, and test your skills in Gambit, an intense tactical activity that blends cooperative and competitive play. I really enjoy Gambit, actually. It's pretty fun.
I have a clue what that is.
I'll explain in a second. It's kind of neat. But I find that sentence weird. Compete against other players across a full suite of competitive, not all modes, not all maps. We're offering a full suite. It's kind of like when you hear Office Suite, you know it's not the whole Office program, right? So I don't know. There's some hedging here. So I would like to think that it's just because they haven't quite nailed down what exactly they're going to give free-to-play players yet in some respects. So we're going to have to keep an eye on it. Gambit, by the way, is you and some squad mates, so team of 4, go in, and it's a PvE experience primarily, in that you're killing waves of monsters, grabbing these drops from them, and bringing them back to power up this thing in the middle. But you're competing against another team doing the same thing, so you're trying to do it faster than them, and on their side of the map that you can't get to, they're doing the same thing. However, there is a mechanic that when a certain portal lights up, one of your players can jump through it, and you'll appear on the enemy side, and you can take out opposing players, but you're only over there until you die, or for a certain limited time period. So it's a way to cut them in the Achilles tendon for a minute and a half type deal by taking out a player or two. So it's mildly PvP. In that respect. Okay. It's a fun mode, and it's going to be included to free-to-play players, which I'm very glad about. So here's the ultimate question. For me, this is a no-brainer. Yes, I am going to jump in. I already play occasionally. It has been a while, admittedly. I do have it reinstalled on my desktop. I'll be playing it this evening after I do some yard work to see exactly how far behind I am. Great. But they already got my money. This isn't marketed towards me. This is marketed towards you two. So, Jason, will you try it?
So, I think it was last Christmas they gave away the base game for free on Battle.net. and I picked it. I had to claim it first, so I claimed it. I've never installed it and never played it. And part of the reason for that was, yeah, like we'll talk about in a lot of other stuff. There's just so many other games out there I wanted to play instead. If I get into this, what's it going to be like? Is it going to be how long is it going to take me to get to the fun parts? Basically.
Yeah.
The way they're pitching it now makes it sound like it's a lot better on that front. Not only the fun parts, but the fact that I could play with you. Hopefully, there'll be, I don't know what kind of like level squashing or how big the difference will be or whatever. In theory, we could play together.
Yeah.
So maybe this is gonna be something that could be at least to take a look, at least to get into it. Whether I'll actually ever wind up spending money on it is kind of iffy, but I think it's something I'll at least give the time of day to.
I will say it is the only shooter in a very, very long time that I am actually anywhere decent in PvP. I'm not great. I'm not going to win any tournaments or anything, but my KDR is never below 1, and that is good as far as I'm concerned. Q, is this... I know you're not... Generally, first-person shooters don't do it for you in general, and I know you don't even like kind of the camera work that goes into that stuff, so if you were going to play a first-person shooter, would this pull you in a little bit?
I mean, it might if I knew exactly who I was teaming up with, and they were very aware that I would be bad. But I mean, I like first-person shooters. I actually do. I liked BioShock and stuff like that. It's just that it takes me a month to play a game like that because after 5 minutes of playing, I get sick. So it's not that I don't like them; it's that they don't like me.
For you PvEers, yes, you're still going to have your operations and oh my god, that's SWOTOR. Operations and flashpoints. You will still have they do call them flashpoints, that's why. You will have those. You also have the Leviathan raid and I think one other raid that came out after that, or I'm not quite sure. Again, I got no chart. Bungie, send me a chart. But you will
talk about open world stuff too.
Oh yeah, well that's a big part of the game, doing the public events and stuff like that. So, all in all, I'd say this one's a thumbs up and the best direction for this game to go in. And hell, if you wanted to play it but weren't going to spend 60, 40, whatever at the time you were going to buy it, there is no reason not to jump in. There is going to be a shit ton to do, even if you don't intend to buy anything after that. But I think it's going to lead to sales. It's going to do what it's supposed to do. Mm-hmm. Moving on to something that used to be free-to-play. So we talked buy-to-play, now free-to-play. Let's talk used to be free-to-play, and who knows what the hell's going to happen with it. We don't know yet. Radical Heights may not be dead. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, you could be forgiven. Because Radical Heights existed for all of 15 minutes as Cliff Bleszinski's Boss Key Studios ramped it up and threw it out there right at the tail end of Lawbreakers being in some serious trouble. Ultimately, just to have the studio, unfortunately, have to close. Radical Heights went away, and Lawbreakers kind of just floats on with 2 or 3 people playing it occasionally.
And occasionally 60.
And occasionally 60. But Radical Heights might not actually be dead. Somebody picked it up, and it's kind of interesting. Who, Jason?
Yeah, so Justin Roiland, who was the co-creator of Rick and Morty. So, okay, that's the first time we've ever talked about Rick and Morty on the cast.
Right.
So he founded his own game studio. It's called Squanch Games.
A nod to Rick and Morty, of course.
I have no idea. I've never watched the show.
It's a character.
Yep.
Well, it's a character and a language.
And
Rick and Morty.
And a noun and a verb.
and yes, it's
to squanch something. It means a lot.
Squanch means a lot.
I had to smile when I read it because I am a Rick and Morty fan. So
it was like Smurf back in the old days.
Yes, actually,
okay,
yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
So they just released their
Q
first
has
title.
been smurfed. We don't know if that's a good or a bad thing. We have no idea. Just like squanched. Don't know.
Smurf you. Anyway. So Squanch Games released its first game, Trover Saves the Universe. That came out just a couple days ago. And then he had an AMA, Justin Roiland did, of course, to talk about the game, talk about the future plans for the studio and so forth. And someone asked him about Radical Heights, which that's how I came across this. I came across some Reddit thread, some guy talking about this. I was like, what? What does this guy have to do with Radical Heights? So it turns out that Justin Roiland actually did a little voice working for Lawbreakers. So I guess he and Cliffy V are like good friends or whatever. And then it turns out that he actually now has the patent to Radical Heights. He apparently applied for the trademark and got that back in August, but they just secured the patent to the game in May. So you wouldn't do that if you weren't planning to do something with it, right?
Well, and he was actually asked during an AMA on Reddit promoting Trover about acquiring Lawbreakers, and responded that, quote, bringing Radical Heights to tubular lows will be the Kotaku review. I'm not sure if this is a good or a bad thing. I mean, it was already like very tongue-in-cheek, very 80s, right? You know, very colorful. So I could see, but you got to see that this is probably going to bring the raunchy in, right? What Rick and Morty are known for, a little bit of raunch here and there. And I mean, that's how I would bring it to tubular lows, right? Raunchy it up a little bit. We'll have to see. Like, we don't even know if it's coming back, and when, or what it would be. But to your point, Jason, you really wouldn't pick up the patent if you didn't intend on doing something with it.
Yeah, and the interesting point is that the patent is, registered in Raleigh, North Carolina, which is where the Boss Key Productions was located. Now, that said, the people who actually worked there are, mostly spread to the four winds. They all had to find new jobs, so I don't know what's going to happen there. If Cliff's going to form a new studio or what. Something maybe, I don't know.
I gotta believe that Cliff himself isn't involved, simply because he did publicly say something on Twitter. And if there was stuff going on behind the scenes, I think he would have just stayed quiet on this until they came out. So maybe you think differently. Here's what Cliff had to say on Twitter. Wow, hashtag Radical Heights still has a dedicated fan base. I don't know. Warms my heart. I loved what we were doing. Shame it didn't have more of a shot to flourish in the time and money we had. And then goes to link the Reddit. Also does point out that somebody must have said, I'd have expected Roiland to have better taste in Friends. And Cliff Blazinski said, and this guy's shaking my head. So,
actually, I can see those two being friends based on, like watching Rick and Morty and having seen some of Justin's interviews and stuff like that. I can see it.
I don't think Cliff's involved though here. I don't think he would have said anything.
He's too busy writing his book, about his tell-all book about whatever.
I forgot about that.
Cliffy B has to write about
how the media was so mean to him, and that's why Lawbreakers failed.
No, it'll be a book about how he couldn't get us to stop calling him Cliffy B.
His Twitter handle is the real Cliffy B.
Yeah, it's still there.
I know, and that's the reason.
Hey, and that was something I said to all of you. I was like, look, he asked that he not be called that anymore. So out of respect for people's names, which is something that's like a pet peeve of mine, Yep, fine. You're Cliff Blazinski then. But then when I said that on one cast, Jason, you were like, his Twitter handle is still the real Cliffy B. And I was like, yeah, you know what? Fuck that then.
I thought that was me that pointed that out.
It may have been. It may have been. All right, so we'll keep our eye on that one too. More to come. Finally, completing this whole buy-to-play, free-to-play, can't play it circle.
This is all three.
Yeah, we got all three on this show.
It's like one of those recycling circles.
Well, this has certainly been recycled. Bless Online is shutting down in Japan. In Japan. So Japan deciding it is going to join the ranks of Korea and Russia and shut down Bless Online. Last day of service will be August 8th. Unsurprisingly, to anybody here, NeoWiz stated that it did not meet the expectation. Thank you, Google Translate. And that the dev team decided to make a painful decision to end the service. And the entire world said,
surprise?
Okay.
All right.
Actually, there might be a big part of the world that said that was still alive anywhere but the West.
Yeah,
I
actually.
surprised myself. Yeah.
So again, not to beat a dead horse here or to say that Troy was right and right and right. Nobody here is shocked by this one, right, Q?
Don't do that. Don't ever tell Troy he's right.
True, good point. No surprises here.
Not surprised, no.
Jason, what I find bizarre, though, I mean, numbers-wise, it's just a matter of time until it closes here in the West, too. There's not even any coyness that we can be coy about here. It's going to shut down in the West. The numbers suck. They're abysmal. What was it, like averaging 200?
Or something,
yeah, and there's just no way that's going to continue. The thing that makes this really bizarre to me still is Bless Unleashed.
Yeah. Okay. First of all, though, Troy, they're talking about you.
Nobody's gonna get that because that
No,
was
they're not. It was a pre-show thing. I said I was wearing Troy as a shirt, but okay. Yeah, Bless Unleashed. I guess it's gonna keep it going somewhere. Like after it shuts down on PC, they'll move it over to console, I guess, and then after that, it'll be on, I don't know, cell phones or something. And then
I would say
just let it die, guys. If it's not working, if it hasn't worked the first 5 times, it's not gonna work the 6th.
Well, really, because I got an example for you, and people already mentioned this one in the comments on that piece, but it was a game that came to mind because they offered me a key to it a little while ago, so I did have it on my mind. Warlords Awakening on Steam. If you don't know what that is, it's Elite Lords of Alliance. Remember that? ELOA?
Right.
That is opened like 3 or 4 times under different publishers for 3 and 4 months at a time, and then closed each time. And Warlords Awakening is now... Wait a minute. Why does it say... Do you see this? Do you see...
No,
Important announcement, May 31st. Dear Warlords, we inform you that Warlords Awakening service will cease on June 28th. On the other, here's what really confused me. I didn't see that first, and I was gonna say, it launched 2 or 3 times as a free-to-play title. Then they did it as Warlords Awakening, which is buy-to-play. And as I was about to say, is buy-to-play, I see on Steam it says free-to-play, and that's why I was like, wait, when did that change? We should have covered that. And then go, oh, that's why they're shutting down on June 28th. This is the best announcement in the world. We inform you that Warlords... Listen to this, Q. You're going to love this. This is almost like, hey, we got some bad news. This is... Yeah, it is. This is like, we've got some bad news, but there's good news. We inform you that Warlords Awakening's service will cease on June 28th. On the other hand... on May 31st, the game will become free-to-play.
So just like Lawbreakers did.
So that you can enjoy its content until the game is no longer available. On the other hand, guys, don't be so upset that we're closing, because for 4 weeks it's going to be free.
Okay.
Which matters not to the people who bought in.
Right.
So we're making fun of Less Online for having like 200, 250 people on average.
Yeah.
Guess how many, according to Steam charts, guess how many Warlords Awakening had in the month of May? What's average players?
It's average players per day for the month of May.
Yes.
I'm going to go with 35. Q?
Higher or lower? We're playing high-low.
Oh, a higher or lower? Okay, a smidge higher? Not like in the hundreds.
And the answer is 8.6.
Oh my god. Wow. Price
Peak
is
of 22 for the month.
Price is Right rules none of us won. Yeah, so hey, breaking news. Warlords Awakening is free to play if you want to go and check it out. We'll be sure to put that article up and then immediately follow.
First look.
I already did one. It's Elite Lords of Alliance. Go check that one out. It's the same damn game. So, yeah, Bless Online shutting down in Japan. Warlords Awakening, the formerly buy-to-play game, completing that circle again. It was shutting down in late June. Let's slide over to the weekly bombs before we find something else that's closing. Jason, you're up.
I'm going to give a dub bomb to Total War Three Kingdoms. First historical Total War game they put out in about 5.5 years. I never played Warhammer because I was still getting through Rome and still enjoying that, but Three Kingdoms has been awesome. A lot of fun. Definitely check it out if you're into that sort of thing.
Cute.
Yeah, I'm actually just going to go ahead and give a bomb to Warlords for really just, pepping up this entire cast.
Oh, we were peppy before.
That is true, but that just really brought it to a head.
My original bomb was a not surprised bomb for Bless Online shutting down in Japan, but that was before I actually decided to include it in the show notes. So I'm going to jump and give an A-bomb to Take-Two's CEO, who wants to say that Fortnite didn't affect us in the least. As far as competition goes for Take-Two games. I don't believe for a minute that simply being available in one business model means something that is completely different can't be available in another. Yeah, all right, you're talking through your ass. Let's slide over to the viewers here. Nasagra says, dub-bomb to Kurtzpel. Even with the lack of content, I'm having a ton of fun with it. I guess it shows how much a great combat system and decent boss mechanics can carry a game. Yeah, and Troy thought the same thing, that it was fun, it was a beautiful game, the combo system was cool, and some people took a little bit of umbrage with us comparing it to Dauntless or to a Monster Hunter World or that type of hunting game in the respect, and I can kind of see their point when I thought about it for a second. It is more arena in that you just queue up, fight the boss, and then come back to the lobby, than a hunting game where you're doing the same thing except you actually have to go around a map and find the damn target. You don't have to do that. So, point well taken to those of you that made that point. You're right. It is a slightly different on that front. Go ahead, Jason.
Daniel Oppenlander says, I'm super hyped for Classic WoW, so I'm going to count that as a dub bomb, even though he doesn't actually say the word there. Get it right next time, Daniel. That is WoW with the RPG. BFA feels like a MOBA queuing simulator. You queue for dungeons, PvP, and so on, and do nothing RPG.
Yeah,
all right.
Fair enough. Go ahead, Q.
Palau Bornfly. What? Troy's back? Well, not this time.
Hey, wait, Troy's never been gone. We kept you
they're talking about you.
We kept you posted. He had some family stuff going on, so but yeah.
Troy's a busy guy. Always
busy shirt.
Go ahead, Q. Keep going.
He's busy being Jason's shirt, exactly. The Bomb to Air, the game isn't that special. It's kind of cookie cutter, but it's just different enough to feel refreshing. I'm playing the Thailand server, and the English patch works very well, but it's actually a game I'm looking forward to coming to North America. Let's just hope it isn't pay to win into failure.
Oh, making me feel a little smile about that one. Hibernate says, I'm going to be honest, and I don't like to admit it, but the game is trying to appeal to both PvP and PvE. To put this in context, Hibernate is talking about Kurtzpel, and did have other views to share on some of the systems in response to last week's show. I did not include that portion here because you really have to be a player or interested in the game to want to read that. If you are, absolutely read the comments, but I thought this part was pertinent to what we were discussing. I'm going to be honest, and I don't like to admit it, but this game is trying to appeal to both PvP and PvE markets at the same time, and with the progression system that they currently have, they're simply not doing a great job at either. And I don't think it's going to get better anytime soon, because there's no point in giving more incentives to free-to-play players when they're already making money from loot boxes and a cut from the marketplace where everything is so expensive. Go ahead, Jason.
Germa2 says, giving an A-bomb and a bomb to Dauntless this week. On one hand, I'm happy to see it's getting all the updates for progression to streamline and make it way less confusing and more smooth. I'm also excited to see how the crossplay works since it's coming out on the 20th. Here's hoping it works out. On the negative side, I'm still bummed out to see they're still using the Battle Pass crap, even though they can just as easily add the paid content into the game as end-game quest rewards, and also the fact that they're forcing the garbage Epic Games Server launcher, which before anyone jumps down my throat for being a Steam fanboy, I tried to buy a couple of the games on there during the sale because I wanted to try some exclusives, and they locked my account for suspicious purchases. Come on, Epic, get it together.
Suspicious purchases.
Is Germa2 your real name?
Well, the translation is, we don't have a cart set up, so you're just purchasing one thing after another, after another, after another, and lock.
Finish it off, Q.
Squeezy, A bomb to Troy. Again, what am I doing reading all the Troy's mail? How dare you curse Lost Ark? It will probably be another Revelation Online, but never a Bless Online.
And I kind of look. I read that too, Jason, when I was doing the show notes, and I was like, ugh.
I like the scale. It's like you get the Bless Online, the Revelation Online. Where's it going to be? Lost Ark.
Question of the week last week. What is your opinion on Lost Ark? Are you still excited? You never were. Why or why not? Nasagra says, as for the question of the week, I'll probably check out Lost Ark when it's the flavor of the week, but I doubt I'll stick with it for long. I know who would disagree with you, and that would be Mr. Zach Sharps, who absolutely loved his time with that game on the Korean servers. Go ahead, Jason.
Lunar Templar says, question of the week. I keep forgetting Lost Ark exists, so not really all that hyped for it, I guess.
I'd say that's fair. That's definitely a fair representation. Go ahead, Q.
Misfit Rain. This is now my new favorite online name. Question of the week. Lost Ark. What is that?
Uh-oh. But don't worry, we rebound for sure with Frostia. Question of the week. Can't wait for Lost Ark for sure, but I'm fairly certain whoever is going to publish it here will screw it up with pay-to-win elements. I see it as a win, though. At least then, I can stay faithful, spend money where it truly counts, buying MTX in Path of Exile. Go ahead, Jason. Finish it up.
You know, ExileCon is in like 6 months. Maybe they'll announce that they're going to publish it.
Ooh.
No, I'm totally making that. I don't have Chris Wilson on Skype.
Conspiracies.
Slash Coon says, question of the week. There are only 2 games I look forward to in Lost Ark and Moonlight Blade. Where Lost Ark looks like the better game, looks like the only actually good game that might be coming our way someday. Everything is polished, just want to translate it with local servers.
So the mixed bag continues. Question of the week this week, though. Does Destiny 2 going free to play entice you to jump in, whether you were new or a previous player? Why or why not? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. While you're there, make sure you do your weekly bomb, bomb for something good, a bomb for something bad in the world of free-to-play gaming. Let us know your thoughts, or if you have a question for the panel, throw it down there, and we'll be sure to feature it on next week's show. Until then, Q, where can everybody find you?
Lurking on Twitter at Quitland.
Jason.
On Twitter at Winter Formal, streaming at twitch.tv/JasonWinter.
I'm Mike Byrne, aka Magic Man. You can follow me personally right there on Twitter at MagicMan1. But more importantly, while you're there, follow at MMOBomb so we can tweet at you all the latest news, articles, interviews, first look videos, free-to-play cast, free-to-play weekly giveaways, and more. Until next time, gang, stay safe. We'll see you on the servers.